speak English. He's like the immigrants. He don't speak a word of English.
Well,
So,
here's the thing. He can learn.
Exactly. He'll pick up the vibes from all this great wisdom and stuff.
So we'll have to keep dirty jokes and foul language to a minimum. Do you like your dog, Carter? Do you like your dog toy?
Dude, I love these. The passy with the little thing is the only way he can hold on to it. They hug it and it holds it. Otherwise, his hands thrashing around. He pulls the damn thing out. Drives me crazy. Especially when he's trying to sleep. But like I said, when I lay him down, he starts to cry. So I'm gonna hold him for a little bit.
Okay. Well, he'll bring in more viewership.
No one's home watching us.
Oh, I know no one's watching us, but that's kind of the joke. It's just like we need a gimmick to get people in.
George is
like
the other people.
Yeah.
At noon. That's a big thing. But we're going to go over Dragon 11. Couldn't make it last week. I had too many grandchildren to deal with. And then Fletcher is a handful. He's all over the place. You can't lower your guard with him or you're going to be in trouble.
Oh, there's a viewer. Hey, Raven, do you like the baby?
Hey, Raven, how's it going? I just told her we were going live.
I usually cross post, but for some reason I haven't been doing that lately. But I'm going to do that today since we're still here chatting about it.
Where do you live simulcast?
I just post. I'm simulcast to YouTube and Rumble, and then I post the restream thing or the. I should probably do the YouTube when more people watch that than anything else. Over to the Video Creative and the Conservatory usually. I've thrown it in the Red Room a couple of times, but a lot of them aren't real big into the classic D&D, so it's kind of pointless.
Bummer. 1 sec.
That's too bad. Yeah, Miguel sent me the PDF for Savage Sword or whatever.
Uh-huh.
I have not had not 1 minute to even look at it. And Doc Flamingo sent me his 900-page PDF as well. I am so backlogged with stuff I'm supposed to review. I'm looking at 4 things on my floor here I've got to review. I barely there's some articles in the magazine I just couldn't get to. The Fafford or the Lankmar story. I'm reading the books, so I assume it's in there somewhere. And if not, I'll come back.
It's set between 2 books, actually. It's like an interlude between 2 books, which is neat.
Okay, I will definitely have to go back and reread it. I just didn't have the time. I just got the link this morning, and Jackie was a handful. 150 freaking pounds of his dumbass. He got a letter in the mail, a truancy letter, for excessive tardies and absences because of lateness this whole year, and he doesn't understand how brutal that could be if they send cops to the door.
Yeah, for you, not necessarily him.
Yeah, it's my fault that I'm up at 6:30, 6:45 to wake his dumb ass up, giving him 2 hours to get ready, and he's still late.
Yeah, I had daughters. I understand totally. That's usually a girl thing. Guys usually throw their shit together in 5 minutes and go out the door half dressed.
Once he gets out of bed, certainly, but he likes to take a shower in the morning, which makes and it's freaking cold today. It's been windy and cold, so he goes right back to bed. He takes a freaking shower at night like a normal human being.
I do both. My wife is a morning shower person. She thinks taking a shower at night is disgusting. She's weirdo though.
I don't know. I think going to bed dirty is kind of gross. Just saying.
I'm trying to find the cover to this to share so we can talk about the cover art, which I kind of dig.
I'm back in time for it. Yeah.
It's got kind of a carnival feel to it. I initially thought.
Initially thought what?
You thought there would be an article that resembled the cover, and there's not. I don't.
This says a December issue, so I assume it was going to be a Halloween one, and then it was delayed or something. Or I do know that Cask back in the a couple years back said any good enough cover that we got mailed in, we used.
Yeah, it's
Um,
true. And it's true. And it's not bad art. It's just
oh,
I
I
don't
think it's great art. I actually think this might be the best cover so far.
really.
Because
Well,
yeah, because hello, is Shadowback?
Yeah.
yeah, I'm here.
Excellent. Because in my mind, when I think about like 1970s era fantasy and science fantasy, with the last era of Hammer movies, artists like Von Bodie and Ralph Bakshi, which you guys know I adore, both of those guys.
Yeah.
Sort of that darker edge to it, but still very whimsical. This is pretty close to what I imagine. Weird creatures, debauchery in the tent, a bodyguard with a weird weapon and armor, and a crafty little guy with a horrifying ghoul. I think that's a ghoul strapped up as a servitor. Like, hey, check out what I can sell you. Also, I love the critter like turning his head like, "What are you looking at?"
Yeah, a little breaking the fourth wall there.
I mean more that like he was looking at the. I think that's a ghoul, but yeah, maybe these creatures know that they're in a game and can see us from across the page. That's kind of chilling. You're gonna get me out of this yoke? Nah, I didn't think so.
Yeah. Well, let's just get right into it. I went over the Dragon Rumblings, and it was mainly, what's coming up. We're getting more riders, blah, blah, blah. It's, at the time, it was probably trying to edge the direction to have more fiction in Dragon, but we all know that kind of faded out. Um,
Which was interesting because there was a relatively lengthy story in Mad Scribe that I just picked up, which I thought was not going to be there. But I guess Chris Miller is an incredibly prolific writer, so it's his magazine. He can put in whatever he likes.
I'm gonna have to tap Mr. Miller's hand. I need a reason to get back into writing.
there you go. I don't write that much. I don't. I write some prose once in a while, but I just can't make myself do it anymore.
That's what I mean. Like, I gotta get my spark back. I gotta eh,
Get your spunk back.
spark, silly, not spunk.
He said spunk.
Hey, if it makes it funnier, then I said spunk. Fine. But speaking of spunk, regrettably,
God.
now I think I warned. Now I think I warned last time I'd be a little peppery today, or at least for number 11, because this issue here, and rereading it, it's not the worst issue. It's not a bad issue, but it's got two of the worst articles in Dragon Magazine history. One right near the beginning and one right near the end.
Oh yeah.
And that's
But
and that's the one that's yes, blind leading the blind.
well, I mean, that was commentary about TSR at the time. They didn't know how to run a damn business. Not a
Oh,
big.
indeed, and Dave McGeary, who actually tried to warn them, like, "Hey guys, we gotta be more professional here. We need lawyers, we need public relations." Gary just flipped at him, and had Gary not flipped at him and actually listened and said, "That's a pretty good idea, Dave. Too. Let's see if we can church us up a little bit here." He would have never lost
The
D&D.
libertarian thinks they are the perfect CEO.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's just be honest.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
For those who have had the joy of not reading, views from this telescope running which end is which, underneath a picture of, admittedly a pretty amusing picture out of context of one dude, and he's like surrounded by like blind guys, and the dog, even the guide dog is blind. That's sort of a darkly sick, smart piece of humor there. Um, he pretty much rants and rants about how no company would ever take a chance on D&D, and we took a big risk, and now all of you disgruntled ex-parasites, Dave Arson, pardon me, it got cold. Actually, I don't have a cold, I mean Dave Arson.
I thought
And
thought it was kind of in reference to Hargrave and ripping off D&D sort of.
Yeah.
He's
That-
definitely taking a pot shot at Warlock, he's definitely taking a pot shot at Alarms and Excursions, and just so we're clear here, I understand that Gygax grew up poor, and obviously he's very protective of something that's bringing him and his family a lot of money after all these years of struggle. And make no mistake, I still think the world of the man. I still respect the man. Had he not done that chance, which granted was adapted from Arneson, who was adapted by Wesley, um, we probably would not be here discussing the matter.
Yeah.
However, this article here is outside of some thumbs upping he gives to Traveler, On Guard,
His guild. Yeah.
yeah, which I always appreciate because those are really good games. Um, Gary's being a real penis breath in this article, and shame on him for that.
Hey, what's
It's not that I'm.
Tell us how you really feel. Wow.
modules, right? Hey, Shaq.
I did. I mean,
Pardon?
it's exaggerated, but it's true.
Yeah. Judges Guild was the ones that made the first modules, right? Really, the first.
No. No.
Judges Guild and We Warriors. I think We Warriors did.
Yeah, We
Palace of the
Warriors.
Vampire Queen.
Oh, jeez. Palace of the Vampire Queen is recognized as the first printed module. What's that other one that just came out? It is supposedly the first module, but it didn't come out for decades later.
You mean the Mandarin?
No. God, I was just looking at it last night. Lost Dungeons of something for.
The Terrace Moore. It's on. I can't remember. It's one of the damn Minotaur right near the front.
You see, Ghost of Gary, this is what you do to us when you put these big rants in your magazine. You're better than this.
Terrace Morgoth or something like. I don't know.
Yeah. It's got Borg in the title. I've got. Good luck finding one of the original copies for less than $300-$500.
I wouldn't want the originals. The originals were rife with typos.
The first reprint, I mean.
Yeah, well, even that.
First print, whatever you want to call it, but
you guys know I'm a PDF guy.
I found some copies
I mean,
for
to be
about
perfectly
$25. Just for historical context to see what was going on. Like I said, even in the very first module, the first encounter is a dwarf with a submachine gun.
See, I don't cross in my
I
text.
do that wizard style.
Right. But some people dig it, some people don't. But there's so many things that
I dig it when it's in context. So, maybe not if the module says a dwarf with a machine gun, I'm going to think, okay, how did a dwarf get his hands on this? If we're not doing that, and the players want troops with a machine gun, then they can quest for a wand that summons up troopers, not just from this dimension, but from others. So, if you're really thinking machine gun, or have the concept of that, then you can summon up earthly commandos. Although they're probably going to want to be sent back home after the mission is done because they don't like it over here.
What
or
year
maybe they love it, and you're in for a bigger trouble than I imagine if they love it. That they think they have superior.
Oh, the John Carter of Mars issue, yes.
Or they decide. Well, yeah. Thanks for bringing us here. Oh, and by the way, I'm in charge.
Good, right or wrong, I'm the dude with the gun.
Right. And the module, or maybe I'm thinking the other one, but there's even mentions of vast, technological storehouses from a bygone era, and you could get more weapons. And it's just crazy. They just didn't. They had 0 Fs to give. They were doing whatever they wanted, and if you liked it, cool. If you didn't, thanks for your money, anyways.
Yeah, it was the early years. Everything was being tried out.
Yeah, I do think. I am glad that we are relaxing some of these genre boundaries, at least in the indie field. Because people can get so picky about
Wretched and Red is about blending genres.
That's Gonzo.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the first pillars of Gonzo is mix whatever you want. I mean, everything is a mix, whether it's historical and fantasy or fantasy and sci-fi or whatever. Unless you're playing as close to true, accurate, historical role playing.
Yeah, simulation doesn't work though.
It doesn't work because you're changing it, by virtue of playing it because history has already been written. So you're rewriting history. That's, gosh, isn't that time travel? Alternate realities?
Alt history is a whole subgenre of science fiction writing as it is, and I do enjoy it. But when you're playing a historical period game, I find that it stops being more like a fantasy tabletop and more like a simulation where you start getting into minutia to recreate stuff. And I don't enjoy it as much.
Yeah, like the big temptation for someone like me is to have like the Spartans win the Battle of the 300.
Okay. Sure.
So what was the next article?
Brawling, the easy way out in D&D, and this is an overcomplicated way to brawl.
Yeah,
In my notes here, I have in air quotes, yes, easy. Sorry, back to you.
yeah. I mean, what's wrong with just rolling to hit and damage as normal? Just do it in subdual damage and call it a day.
Because back then there was kind of this belief that like thrown weapons, ranged weapons, melee weapons, unarmed should be handled differently, which granted they do work differently in the real world. But just for ease of play, an attack roll is the leading option.
I think
Um,
this was an attempt to make the barroom brawl into a sub game.
Probably yes. I'll
It's
say
something.
this: I do love the art. I think this is Dave Sutherland.
Yeah.
I love the chick about to smash the guy's head in with the puddle there, and the guy looking all menacing in the background there. But another big issue beyond complexity is that this is a big step in quarterstaff fighting, which we're going to look at later, is a big step in going from just roll what you got and work with what you got into you need all 16s or above in your physical stats.
It's about making a opposed roll system too. It's an opposed roll mini game that you can throw into your brawl. Probably when you don't have a really good adventure ready. That's what I think. That's the feel because then the chart and the math would look like it would just take a little bit longer than making it a quick barroom brawl.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah, I could see the the allure of your regular combats when you've got the minis out there, but when you've got two minis against one another, they're not moving, they're not action figures. It's not like the Holo game on the Millennium Falcon. It's all in your head. You can picture what you want when it comes to back and forth, punching and kicking and all that crap, but it just seems
Yeah, it
just
seems unnecessary.
retarded. It just seems retarded. There's no need for it. It's pointless. There are plenty, and there were plenty of games that were just man on man. Melee and different games where you could just get that sort of feel, but it's just two dudes or two beings, punching and kicking and clawing at one another. Do you really need the nitty gritty details? And if so, uh, maybe your hobby is boxing. Just saying.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Robert E. Howard was a semi-amateur boxer, and he wrote great pulp stories because of it. Um, but yeah, I get you. It's
It's just
honestly,
too
and
much.
even in White Dwarf, there's a mini game that you can drop into your campaign. I think it's called Barroom Brawl, where you've got preset
I remember
fighters.
that.
Yeah, that is no diss to Robert J. Kuntz, because I adore Mr. Kuntz. Um, that thing is head and shoulders above a system that I. Well, I'm not gonna say no one used. People probably tried this out once or twice, but
Oh, guaranteed they did. Just thinking that they were doing something wrong,
mhm.
with when they weren't.
I will say this though, and again, much like the artwork, I need to give serious props to him here. Next issue, long-term effects of having your clocks cleaned in Sorcerer Scroll.
Yeah, they're always like dropping hints for the next article. Now,
Yeah,
the next issue. Now, the next article. Have you guys ever played Ogre? Like
Oh,
table?
I love
I've
Ogre.
I've not played it yet, so I did read this, but I have no clue if this advice stacks up or not. And Tony Watson is
It's
actually a
solid.
big.
It's
It's
solid.
Okay, good, good.
it's
And
Richmond.
I know that Tony Watson's actually going to be a big mainstay in a lot of these gaming magazines going forward. So you can definitely tell from how this is written that he's definitely going places.
You can also say kind of served. You can always tell people who've actually seen how combined arms works, and combined arms always wins in a lot of war games. But when you're trying to wear down an ogre, artillery and fast mobile, but you're going to lose so much of it.
Yeah, your infantry, all it's going to do is just gum up his treads. Not even joking. But it's a great game. So ahead of its time for being a tiny little, you know, 12, 13 page little pamphlet, for $3 with some chits and a construction paper map. It was the shit. And when they first made the first video game, uh, it was all X's and O's like a DOS game.
Right.
Um, it was hard. Oh my god, it was hard. The only way to win that game, literally, was to place your howitzers all along, get nothing but howitzers, and place them equally spaced around the absolute edge of the map because they can't move. And the ogre's got to go like, well, if I go after this one, I'm going to get beamed by these ones. If I go after this one, I'm going to get beamed by this one. So it just like slowly tries to methodically just knock out the closest howitzers, but all your howitzers are just like raining hellfire down on it. It was literally I tried every possible combination. And against the human is way different.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not bad.
Jackie and I played it, and he enjoyed the hell out of it. Uh, Mostly because he was the ogre and he just stomped me.
Now,
it's one of the few things. One of the few things Steve Jackson did that's still worth playing.
Illuminati the card game.
Pardon?
Go figure.
Illuminati the card.
And
I've never played that. I would sell a kidney to be able to get a hold of it. The only thing that's available are like factory sets of the cards for about $1,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
I had stacks of them, like 3 sets.
But know that nice, awesome, dude.
I
Yeah,
got
Fantasy
rid of
Trip is bang up. This is bang up. The other thing note here is that like people tend to forget how good a lot of these like nowadays it'd be like for $15 a bag of like chits and a playmat and some simple 12-page rules. Like there's so many great games like that. Like Barbarian Prince was another great one. Ogre,
I've got it.
a couple of really nice
As a matter of fact, Demon Lord from the same line is what inspired me to
Lord.
the God Wars. I've got Goblin.
Nice.
I've got all the Heritage little box games. I've got most of the TSR, all of Task Force, all of what's the other one, and most of the micro games, but I didn't get any of the historical. So I've got like a box of about 50 micro games that's about about the size of a wine box or smaller, and I've never played, or I have not played, but like 3 of them.
And honestly, if you get like all those games with all those chits, and I am the miniatures enjoyer. Like I'm actually a little bit disappointed when the DM says, "Yeah, we don't use playmats here." You could use those chits honestly for your characters and critters, and it works just fine.
Oh yeah,
I've seen a resurgence in some of the war game guys going back to the little blocks.
yeah, with like meeples and things like that.
No, just little rectangular blocks colored for your units.
Really?
Yeah, like you would see on a combat map, like
Okay.
a recap of an old battle where it's brigades and divisions being moved like little blocks. I'm seeing guys going back to that just because it's quicker and easier. And when you're doing large theater combat, you really want to do that. You don't want to lay down an entire corps.
Unless you're playing a Napoleonics game, in which case you absolutely muster your.
Which you're not really putting down a whole corps usually. Those battles are typically smaller than corps engagements, aren't they? I guess 15 mil, because each 15 millimeter stand X actually represents X amount of troops and stuff like that. What the?
Yeah.
What was that?
He's
What was
giggling.
Oh,
He kind of likes us talking about chits.
He's right. Now.
Oh dear.
Oh, my hand feels hot. I know why it's freaking out.
I see. So, next article?
Yeah, The Play's the Thing by Thomas Fillmore. I mean, it goes over backstory.
Yes,
And I'm
regrettably.
not a huge backstory guy, but I love this line. The dreamer's art, the ability to cut loose from the restraints of reality and touch new shores and lives, is the essence and lure of Dungeons and Dragons.
That's absolutely the high point of the article. Regrettably, just because I've seen where all of this like have a backstory for your characters, be greedy or tricksy. I've that this is like not the birth of like fifth edition, but like this is one of those million little things that's going to lead to the obnoxious tiefling warlocks.
Cut that out.
Don't worry, there's no tiefling warlocks here, buddy.
That's right.
This article was so impactful. I'm pretty certain it made it into one of the best of Dragon magazines. I could be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure it showed up later because I recognize the title from somewhere, and it's got to be one of the best of because I don't have this issue.
I think it's the first of. I think it was the first best of. No, that was only the first 5 issues, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's probably 2 or 3,
Yeah.
but awesome.
Oh, I'm seeing here. I was raised by a poor orc child.
Yeah, that's Cal. What's up, Cal?
I played one game with chits way back. They have their drawbacks. Ah, I see. Can you? Is it like are they hard to like pick up and handle? Is it the delicacy of them? Is it what unit is this? What are those some of those drawbacks, dude?
I'm guessing just the tiny little numbers and things like that.
Yeah. The older you get, the harder they are to see.
Mm-hmm.
That article. I mean, I'm a big fan of just 3 sentences top for a backstory that gives me some ability to do something with your character's backstory as an adventure hook. If you have a super detailed backstory, you have hamstrung the DM.
Yeah, you can not only that, but there's a lot of shenanigans. The classic. I'm the son of a prince. Blah blah blah. If you didn't roll that, you're not.
Right.
You're
also not pulling out all the extra stuff though.
And I would go
scrubs.
I would go one further than not 3 sentences, but limit it to a word count.
Yes, it could be wordy.
Yes, it's like okay, 3 sentences, huh? How many words can I fit into my first sentence?
I have been known to abuse the Oxford comma. I'm just
yeah.
To be perfectly blunt, reading the article, I definitely came with a little bit less of a rosier view than you guys. What this was reminding me of as I looked through my notes is that scene in Barbarella where her and Pygar are stuck in the death chamber, and a really calm, cool female voice is telling you to choose from one of 3 exciting deaths to spice up your life if you're bored of it. That I'm not sure if this was Mr. Fillmore's intent, but that was definitely the tone I was reading here. Have a more complex backstory to liven up your game.
But it's also in the early parts of the game where role playing. I mean, you had your different factions then, like you do now. Roll over R-E or ROLL. Or
I get the feeling that there was a lot less actual role playing in the early days.
Like more hijinks.
Oh, absolutely. It was absolutely a war game. Like, don't get me wrong, they definitely. We're going to see in an article next week that these guys were role playing, just in a very different way than we were.
Yeah. Now, the next article, Seal the Imperium, it's our favorite Mar Barker guy.
Yeah, sorry, I just noped out of that one. As soon as I saw his name, I was like, sorry, dude. I don't have that time this morning.
Go figure. I read not just the last Seal the Imperium to see what bothered you about it last time, and I read this Seal the Imperium.
But
I can definitely see why you would respectfully disagree on almost all of his answers, because the guy was either as much of a hard ass as Gygax, or maybe even harder than Gygax. Like,
I'm gonna go with harder. Just saying.
Yeah, you don't give your players like radioactive poisoning, and then deny them a chance to heal that. It's like, come on, dude, come on.
Yeah.
I said, do not enter.
What does that accomplish other than losing players?
Yeah,
You
it's
know,
like at least give us a chance here. If it's even if it's a slight chance, at least give them that opportunity.
well, I think a warning is in order as well. Some
Hmm.
sort of, maybe, I mean, maybe hide that warning really, really good. But if you don't
Yeah.
even warn them and you pull that crap out,
Hmm.
you're going to come across as like, the killer DM, just trying to kill people
Yep.
uh, and waste their time. What do you get? What does anybody get out of that? No win situation, and you were dumb for entering my game. Ha ha ha! I win. Just
Yeah, that's not how you win at being a DM, so to speak.
Yeah, you win by having people who are constantly freaking calling you up on the phone, asking you questions like, "When's the next game?"
Yeah, I mean, I can't get into the Empire of the Petal Throne, but he is very accessible, I guess, back in the day, and he's answering every question posted that's handed to him, evidently. And
Well, not just
Yeah.
accessible, but prolific. If you liked it, there is a ton of stuff out there
yeah,
to this day that you can get. There's everything from the game, the novel,
Yep.
to all the supplements that came after, and I think are still in print. People still love it. Awesome. There's even some really interesting miniatures from back in the day. So there's plenty of you know things to keep you busy if you were into it. I just I haven't had the time. It's another one of the books. I just picked up a copy of it last year of the rule book, and I looked through it and I went, yeah, I'm not seeing anything that's jumping out at me saying, hey, you've got to read this. So we'll see. Yeah, I'll get to it. It's one of those things. If you want to know the history of the hobby to any great detail, that's like it's got to be on your bucket list.
Hmm. Absolutely.
Okay, go ahead, Tanner.
Oh, I was just about done too. That summed it up perfectly. I was going to go on to another uh, the next article here in the SNIT department from the Chronicles of Image the Rotund on the deviation of SNIT subspecies.
Oh, I'm missing a page.
Yeah, I read that, but then I didn't read Snit's Revenge because time was of the essence.
I did like snits. I
I
did.
read it just because I was kind of curious, and I'm kind of amused. And this is it says translated by Jay Ward, so I'll get to that in just a sec. But something that's really nice about Tom Wam's writing style, his sense of humor, is that he likes to present silly as grandiose. So, like, this is a game about getting your little critters from point A to B so they can multiply before they get squished. And it's like, but one stood above the rest, Xerxes, who had the children of Greg, Bob, and Bruce Snit. And just like going on like the lineages and heroic actions of these like little guys, and it's like I
There's
also appreciate at the end there before the notes and errata translated by James Ward. It's almost as if like this is was like found on like an ancient tablet and they had to like translate it painstakingly. I got a smile out of it.
it was definitely one of the more amusing articles
Hmm.
as opposed to some of the articles that it really pissed me off. I don't know about
Indeed.
you, but I'm betting Tanner was not a fan. Hey, what's up, Justin? Of one of the articles that's coming up.
Oh, don't like I said. There was two articles that cheesed me, technically three, and we'll definitely be getting to them soon enough. Um,
Big floor pillow for the baby. He's out. I might record your voice, Tanner. He seems to just go right to sleep.
sorry.
I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, buddy.
He
Wait,
also like
did I wake him up or did I
nicotine.
get him to sleep? Sorry.
Well, he's got a full belly. That's all they do at this age: is poop, eat, and sleep anyway.
Yeah,
But
that's their
before we
job,
continue
and boy, do they do it well.
before we continue, I'll mention something else on WOM, which this reminded me of. In a couple of years, the RPGA is going to have their own magazine, and WOM's going to do what I think was meant to be a longer running thing, but it was just one issue of a one pager called Rockschnoz. And then the next issue after Rockschnoz is like this page long, really intricate piece of world building as to how a world like that came about, which seems really excessive for a one page silly comic until you realize even when Wom is doing a comedy, he's still thinking, okay, how do gods exist in space? How do they put together a world? what laws of physics that we take for granted are not there? What's something that they take for granted that we don't know? And just this really intricate science fantasy world building, which I really appreciate.
And God, what's how do you pronounce this guy's name? Wib. I'm just calling you Wib for now, man. My eyes are terrible.
I think it's Polish.
We actually spin web actually.
Uh, Almost every miniature in this magazine I either own or have owned at one point or another. It was amazing. All of those minifigs, Orcus, Demogorgon, and the big demon are now, if you can find them, $500.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And several of them I still have. A couple though I I sold them because there are better versions out there, and I didn't think about the history. And well, I still made $300, 250. Looking recently, I'm like, oh my god.
The games they put in this get better later on, though. Snits is probably the worst, but there are other little games they put in Dragon. They actually get better.
Yeah, I remember having a couple of them, and I might still.
And even with Snits,
But
like
I wish
that's
somebody would
cheap, like
just
official
make a box set of all the games. Cheap, thin, flimsy cardboard. But I'd still grab it.
Yeah.
It's easier than getting the magazines and thinking they might actually be in the
when
magazine.
D&D and Hasbro and stuff like that, are owned by better sorts, we'll know when they do just that.
Yep.
I'm surprised they don't do like print on demand for some of this stuff just to get it back out there. Cash in. From the Sorcerer's Scroll is basically talking
Yeah, I know
about the
that
new books.
Snits got a official release, so I don't know.
It did?
It was Snit's Revenge. It was a board game. I saw it on the shelves all the time. I don't know if they re-released it, but I know it was a thing at one point.
I think I was always chasing the Attack of the Awful Green Things from Outer Space, so that would always draw my attention if I saw it. Which I still.
Raven, you go to them yard sales. You bring your phone and you contact me, and I will let you know if you should buy them for me.
I'm gonna start picking, so I'll keep
I'm
you in
telling
mind.
you, man. And you hush.
On an
So,
outdoor map.
Sorcerer's Scroll?
Yeah. I was refreshing my memory at least while waking. Here, take a-
Yeah, I love reading. Their perceived viewing of not just the dungeon, the monster manual, but their that what was it? They asked for input on what should be essentially in the Dungeon Master's Guide.
Yeah.
I love that. It was like you have no idea how important that book is going to be uh, for anybody and everybody who's interested in any kind of role playing whatsoever.
Like an early form of
Mhm.
crowdsourcing, I guess.
Yep.
Oh yeah, Dragon was absolutely crowdsourcing. I also appreciate Robert Kuntz again. Clearly, compared to like Gygax and Cask, who we're gonna roast pretty soon, you can just see this guy's comparatively a ball of sunshine. He's like, "Greetings, fellow D&Ders. The monster manual's just about ready. It might be the best release we've done since Empire of the Petal Thrones. This will have all the monsters so far, plus some new ones, and we're gonna up the hit dice in the player's handbooks next summer, and have so many spells." And just like on one hand this is an advertisement, on the other hand, like you can tell that they're very proud of their work, they're very happy, and there's a part of them that know that this is going to be big, like this is going to be sense shattering.
Well, then, Raven, you will be selling them to me.
He's the minis guy. He is
Yeah,
the
because
minis.
how are you going to know what they're worth? I can look. I can look at any mini right now, and tell you what it's going for, or what it should go for on eBay. If you know what you have, if you just throw it out there, I got a mini. You're going to lose money.
All right, you said you didn't read the Sea Magic story, did you, Shadow?
No, was it good?
It's all
I
right.
don't know.
It's
I'm a
Lieber.
Favre guy.
I love his work. I will be finishing the six books again, but now I have to come and find out which book this comes in between.
Yeah, I think its underlying thing has a little bit of social commentary with the icons that they have. I think it's funny, but it's very subtle, I guess. Uh, but it's the typical Lieber.
Okay.
And I do think it's interesting that it's made to go between two of the novels he's got out. Like it's a short story to bring some context, but it doesn't. I mean, it's like what were they doing in their downtime between A and B book?
Okay.
What do you think about it, Tanner?
Remember, I'm not the biggest Fafhrd and Grey Mouser guy. I didn't read it.
Oh, I'll try. I forgot. Me neither. I thought I had time to read this one though. They were sleeping, and I just popped it out and read it in my chair. It's
Not
all
a Fritz Lieber guy. For shame. He is one.
Oh,
I
I'm
mean, he
sorry.
is why we have the thief.
I do
Oh,
like him.
dude, like
Yeah,
his world, his characters, his gods, his critters, those are all great. It's just the writing style. Like, I can read a paragraph of his 3 times and still not know what happened. And honestly, I'd probably enjoy something like The Big Time more because I've got a copy of that on my shelf I could read.
Mm.
Hey,
Now,
you saw the Dallas RPG. I hope you bought that. Seriously.
are you guys ready to flame the quarterstaff rules? Because he suck.
Oh, wait. Before we do, I'm gonna give it a fighting chance and say, if I ever want to do like a giants in the earth thing where you guys land on medieval England around that time, or you're someone's one of the merry men. This is their physical stats are at least nice to have on hand. Like I can salvage, some a diamond from the rough here. Otherwise, once again, if you don't have a really high strength, con, or dex, um, you're fucked.
Yeah,
I'm going to quote the great Lieutenant Worf. I am not a merry man.
I am not a very man. Yeah, it's another sub game to put inside your D&D game. It goes by different rules. It's something like for a tourney or something. Like I saw some dude making an OSR tourney rules, and those are always kind of cool to do in AD&D back in the
I can see
day.
that. I can see that.
But it becomes a completely sub game because you're breaking the rules, you're changing the rules. And
Especially like a smaller con, Cabin Con, Venture Con, something like that.
yeah,
You know, I can see that.
my buddy's got a game like that. It's off Ray Guns and Rednecks, and he plays it at cons, and it's just a fun schlocky game to play at a con. It's all it's good for. I think it's hilarious, but when you
Cool.
have a character in the game called Billy the Retarded Paperboy, it's always a plus. But Wormy, I think the next article is what, Wormy? Or did I skip something? Or did you have any more hate for the for the quarterstaff rules? I couldn't stand it.
Same reason,
Uh,
dude. It's just like you first. Sorry.
Unless you're doing a Robin Hood thing and you want to redo that famous battle, I don't see any point to this.
Yeah, me neither.
Or maybe if you wanted to throw it in chainmail, if you were having like a chainmail event where you were playing a bunch of the mini game type things, scenarios from chainmail, then throw this in there. You'll get a bunch of like 12 people to your convention, and you're good to go.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it is such a uh, there's nobody left. We're all dead.
Yeah, it's like and like wasn't like the staff or the core staff already a weapon in D&D at this time? It's like you just use that like a normal melee weapon, and
Right.
maybe they wanted something to go with the joust rules, but like
Maybe. I
That's
guess.
what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Like
Again, yeah. My big issue here is that like unless you've got like 16, 17, 18 in 2 or more of your physical stats, and before the Dungeon Master's Guide, good luck getting those on 3d6. Although maybe you might. It's actually more generous than the rolling you think it is. It's like you're never going to get to these numbers, and you're just going to get trounced all the time. It just does. It's just not going to work, and it's going to push the game towards that power gaming.
Mhm. Maybe it's responsible for that.
Like I said, same thing with the role playing thing. Same thing with the barroom brawling. It's slowly bringing in, hey, this is not just a world based off of the super heroic fantasy you're reading, but you should also have these high stats so you can win at like barroom brawls and quarterstaff fighting. And you need a long backstory where you're the prince and everyone needs to take a big whiff of you. And just like again, there's reasons here. This is my least favorite dragon so far, although I think we've been pretty decent on it so far, honestly.
It's
Well, it's about to get some hatred.
it's stat
Yeah.
bloat.
But before we do, Wormy and Phineas Fingers. So that's
Yeah, the work
I
is
will
good.
admit,
Wormy was
yeah, I
great.
gotta
The, the, the the dialogue was just so
yes.
good.
What
For
wears
one page,
chainmail and looks like black pudding? I don't know. Squash dwarves.
yep.
And of course, my love of Phineas Fingers. This one, I get a kick out of. The halfling who almost poisoned them, they stopped before they drank, is like, uh, they're gonna bring a plague down the evil wizard Cask, and we'll get to that in a sec, finally. He's kidnapped our princess, he's doing these horrible things to us, he'll do a plague, please don't kill us. Like, don't worry, we'll get that wizard Cask for you, we'll free your people. And then as soon as they're out of earshot, that's odd, I didn't hear anything about plague back in the Shire. We don't even have a princess. Yeah, but don't tell them that.
Yeah, and they're busting on cask too.
Yes, and do you have a? Can you show the actual page there? Page 29 there.
I just had it up. I'll put it back up.
Okay. So you may have noticed review NBC's The Hobbit
Hold on.
by, as we're going to see, Tim Kask. Cask.
Now I understand why people hate him.
Well, it's not even. See, I don't even hate the guy because
I
he
was
was so
literally about
influential
to
in
ask,
Dragon.
but now I don't need to.
Yes, so here's what we've been hinting at, viewers, for this entire time. And admittedly, we are biased because most of us do like this movie. But what Tim Kask decided to do in this review is pretty much slag the Rankin Bass NBC release of the Hobbit movie, the animated one, and just say it's a horrible adaptation. It cuts too much stuff, and all this money was wasted, and screw you, and
It does cut off.
without yeah, without even bringing up things like the voice acting or why the movie looks good or how it does, or even slagging stuff people actually did like the extra mutated Gollum.
I love the Golem.
Yeah, like and most of my fellow Lord of the Ring fans, they are strict Jackson fans, and even they're like, "Holy shit, this is a great Gollum." Because he's so creepy. He's so, give us an answer, give us an answer.
He was nightmarish as a child. I
Oh
mean,
yeah,
literally, the, I can't think of many things that were creepier. And for kids, I mean, just
It had
like
the best music. I did like
like
the music.
oh yeah, like
oh, the
he
music
doesn't
was
even bring up the music,
phenomenal. The
and he
music
doesn't
is
bring
one
it
of
up.
the best. It was Glenn Yarborough, the greatest name of a bard I could think of, because he was a real bard.
Oh
Uh,
wow, that's why he was so good.
yes, yes. Well, I mean, his name, Glenn Yarborough. I mean, come on. You don't get much more druidic than that. Uh, it was just the music and the words. I couldn't like reading it the first couple of times as a kid before I saw the cartoon. I couldn't picture the melody. I couldn't feel it. But then when we got it, it was like, oh my god, especially the one down in the valley. Oh my god, that one is
Oh
just
indeed, and I still get chills when Gollum's not Gollum. That would be a very different story. I don't need my precious. I have music. I'm happy again. I can speak without calling myself Gollum. No, no, no. But like when Bilbo, you
Cheers.
know, yeah, when Bilbo's like at the top of the hill, he's hearing the music, and he says, "And it fills me. I still get chills to this day. That is such a beautiful scene.
Mhm.
The funny thing is that he's like, Bilbo's character arc is torn to shreds in this. He has no character. And it's like, did you remember the scene where like he wakes up, he thinks they're gone, he looks out the window sad, and they're like ready for him to go, and he's like, yes, or and it fills me, and like his arc is still there, guys. It's still,
I know, but people who grew up reading this book over and over and over felt shortchanged, and there were still people criticizing Peter Jackson's version of it because it left stuff out. I mean,
absolutely. I'm one of them.
And not one of them has ever actually worked. Not one of them has ever worked on a movie or an animated project and understood what a laborious effort it is. You know, and not only just laborious, but time sensitive. You are in a hurry the entire time.
Indeed,
Everything you are doing, every second
like
of
you
your
know
life.
how long it actually takes to make like just an episode of SpongeBob, like 10 minutes. That takes like 9, 10, 11 months. That's as much time as it took to make your grandson on the floor there.
what?
9 Oh, he's in your arms now, sorry. Like obviously we're not cavemen viewers. I mean like it takes as much time to make 10 minutes of animation as it does a child.
Well,
Think about
back
that.
in the day when they,
Not as many people.
Yeah, like and even nowadays it still takes a little while.
well, most of it's all digital.
Oh, trust me, I'm trying not to show my teeth too much at that, but
Are you
it's like,
the Ghibli angry crowd about the AI
oh no,
Ghibli?
no, dude, I hate Ghibli. Like, I'm one of the few people who cannot stand Miyazaki. I cannot stand his guts, but I do hate CGI animation. To me, it's not even special effects at this point. But what I'm trying to say here, not be too opinionated, is make no mistake, the Rankin Bass movie has flaws. Like it removes the Arkenstone, it removes Bjorn.
Mhm.
Although he does have a Rankin Bass design because they put out a illustrated version of the novel with all their character designs, which is really really rare nowadays. I've held it in my hands and read it once. It's superb. I wish I had a copy. I do not. Um, and it's like you do have to accept you have a lot more of a go-getter Bilbo. Like Book Bilbo would not have lifted up his sword and said, "Mind you, I'm armed with an elvish blade."
Yeah, it didn't
But
pay attention to Sam either, but it was a good movie for its time.
Sam was in the next one. But yes, like it's not perfect, but it's like Cask is like
Yeah, I'm trying
really
to
giving us an unneeded slagging, and I know that Gygax is going to give Conan the Barbarian an unneeded slagging in 5 years too.
I despise that movie. Sorry.
Free Country, man.
Yeah,
Which movie
Somebody the Conan
Conan
the
with
Barbarian
Arnold.
one.
with Arnold? I
Yeah,
loved it as a kid, dude. But I knew it didn't match my books, but I did love it.
It's I'd say it's a
right.
good movie on its own, but not at all a good Conan movie.
Yeah, yeah.
There was
If you
also
want
the
to,
Momoa Coman. I'm just saying,
oh,
Oh, that thing.
count your blessings, boys.
Oh, I'm counting them. I am
I'm
counting
just gonna say they couldn't even spring for a bottle of hair dye for Arnold. Just
or
saying.
a wig. Yeah, regrettably, John Milius may have been a great director, but he seemed to have a bit of an active disinterest in Howard stuff.
Yeah. Mind you, I by the time I saw the Howard the Conan movie, I had already read most of the Conan novels and every Savage Sword of Conan magazine I could get my hands on, as
Yep.
well as the comic books. It wasn't Conan. Uh, full stop. Look at that little guy. He got a big old melon on top of his shoulders.
That's right, he does. Big old head. He got his 30-second nap in. I'm exaggerating. It was
5 seconds.
5 minutes.
Babies
5 minutes.
like
I
their
mean, it
power
seems
naps.
like it.
I know my little brother was the same around that age. Yeah, look at you all looking all innocently all over. But yeah, and just so we're clear here, we don't mind Tim Kask not loving or liking the movie. It's no crime to not like a movie. It's more just the guy was infamously a curmudgeon. He and Arneson were always going off. Like Arneson one time roasted him by putting like a box of donuts on his desk because he would circle every typo in the magazine with a donut. Which, granted, okay, Arneson's a bit of a troublemaker, shouldn't do that. On the other hand, Task Taskmaster Cask. Yeah.
Taskmaster Cast. Thanks.
Yeah.
That's my Hobgoblin.
Don't worry.
Things.
David sent us. Who? Kill him! But it's like, come on, guys. Much like Gary, you are better.
Rolls off the tongue like
Yeah.
Master Toad from
Like,
Dragon
Cask,
Balls.
we love you for what you did. You're better than this. In the unlikely chance you're watching this and you've listened so far, you are better than this.
People get riled up, dude. I troll people all the time about their movie taste, so they get all freaked out about it. And I'm like, I love Grease too. They're like, oh my god, it's the worst movie ever. I said it's the best
Look,
movie
it
ever.
means something to you, therefore it is value. It's like people are allowed to have their taste. We don't really get to decide, what we love or don't love. And if we do, then we are part of a clique at that point. We're not fans of something. It's like I unironically love Tammy and the T-Rex, and that's a movie a lot of people hate, but it makes me smile and it makes me
Never
laugh.
heard of it. Never heard of it.
It's some 80s trash
It's
cheese.
worse than that. It's 90s trash cheese. So I'm going to give you this little advertisement before we go back to the magazine. So it stars a young Denise Richards and a young Paul Walker back when he was alive, and she's a bit of a Stacy. He's kind of a dumb guy, but he's a decent guy, and he runs afoul of her ex-boyfriend, who's a total creepo and a jerk, and he crashes in their home, kidnaps him, and brings him to a wildlife reserve where he gets mauled by a lion. Now, in the same town, the guy from Weekend at Bernie's, the dead guy, he's a mad scientist who wants to put someone's brain into a mechanical Tyrannosaurus Rex. Why? Because he's a mad scientist, and this is what he does for the weekend. So he
Okay.
so he fakes the
Taking
guy's
it so
death,
far.
plucks the guy's brain out, which should probably kill him, pops it in there, and then the movie hops back and forth between like bloody slasher and teen comedy as Tammy finds out and is trying to find some way to either put his brain back in his body or find another body, while the mad scientist and his Natasha-like girlfriend and underling are like trying to get him back. It's you. I don't want to say you have to be high for it, but you definitely have to be a tanner to get some value out of that thing. Oh,
It
absolutely.
is funny though.
I've never heard of
It's
it.
like-
I've never heard of it.
I'll put it on for you sometime. And here's the thing: as bad as it is, there are actual moments where it's like, "Hey, that was pretty good."
Okay.
But
I despise Denise Richardson, but okay, it
in
still
that
sounds.
case, you can laugh at her in this movie as opposed to with her.
Yeah, that's in her filmography
Oh,
forever.
Paul Walker. And Weekend at Bernie's guy, who's genuinely funny in this movie, like actually like funny.
The only reason I want to go to like HorrorCon and these places where some of these bigger actors show up is to ask about their worst film ever. It's like, man, I loved your performance in like the worst film they were ever in, like the trashiest stuff. If I ever meet Stallone, I'll be like, dude, Death Race 2000 was your best film.
Hey, Death Race 2000 is pretty good.
Yeah, but he plays such a Guido. A big Bowie knife on his car.
I just can't picture doing that, but that's fucking hysterical.
I will. I don't care.
I just wouldn't want to be remembered as that guy who got punched out by Stallone.
Well, I mean, it's Stallone, so I mean, there's worse ways to get.
I don't think he's going to punch you out for
Other
being
actors,
a fan of one of his.
Stallone
Well,
is a decent guy,
Yeah,
but I can
everybody
see some
does
other
way.
actors,
Yeah.
Tim Robbins or something like that.
What's your David Carradine on how to be a better actor?
Actually, here's the thing. There's a world difference between getting punched out by like Tim Carradine or David Carradine, sorry, or Sylvester Stallone, and getting punched out by the robotic Richard Simmonsdorf.
That's true.
That's a running gag for those who aren't aware. So we've been talking about movies and stuff. Another wonderful Tom Mom cartoon where they've got the black light miniatures, but one guy forgot to paint his elves properly, and one guy doesn't know what a hit table is.
That reminds me of this new war game thing that's out, where it is blacklight focused, and it is the angular CGI of like the 80s from Tron as a war game table. That it's a big black grid with glow in the dark lights and stuff. And I saw a Tron game that was absolutely amazing from this little con I didn't go
have you guys,
to. I
any
was
of you
like,
ever played a blacklight game?
Not yet. What's it like?
Ooh.
Black
I mean,
Light.
obviously, there's adult party favors involved, but um, it is definitely it should definitely be on your bucket list. The only problem is finding the guy's garage that you're going to permanently, you know, fix up like that, and then wondering, what your neighbors are going to think when they see the black lights and smell the aromas that are going to waft out of the garage in order to make it just right. Um, it's an effort. You could be looking at several grand to make it happen, plus hundreds of hours of proper painting to make it all work. But my son and I, in our channel in the early days, we made and painted a lot of things using neon, day glow, whatever you want to call it, paint. I've literally got a black light right here in a small lamp so that we can show the stuff off, because on the off chance that
I would find that image and send it to you on your Discord channel. These two games, because I want to see the rules.
Also, reading this cartoon again, I noticed that the Napoleon Bonaparte guy and the Captain Wednesday looking guy are in this comic as well. So I appreciate the
callback.
continuing lore here. Yeah, the callback. And then we wrap up with a ad for monsters, monsters, and more monsters. The monster manual, and giving you a peek at what that's going to be like. And then, despite all my ranting and all my raving this issue, I genuinely love the Happy Holidays image, which has a little D8, a full page DAT piece of art of all the production staffers, including Cask and Gygax at the helm, in their
Yeah, that
sled
was
with the
cool.
little dragon guys.
That original piece of artwork has got to be out there somewhere. If not, that's a crime, and it literally
Absolutely.
should be in a museum.
Yes, this would absolutely be worth at least thousands of dollars. And honestly, understanding we're right around the corner from Easter and this is Christmas, this fills me with so much seasonal joy. There's no way I can hate this. This is great.
Well, not only that, but there should be like there should have been a tontine for this painting. The last guy
Yes.
standing gets it.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
You
Although
know,
at that point, Cask might um get a little bit worse than curmudgeonly. But yeah. So, gentlemen, what was your thoughts and feelings on Dragon number 11, Finger 11? Yeah.
yeah, it had a couple of good moments, and that was Ogre. Um, and
Did you say
Normie,
ogre carver? Ogre.
the Ogre article was good, but nobody plays it anymore. So
There's a digital game on Steam, and I quit playing it. I didn't like it. I play BattleTech more than anything else
I
on
recently
Steam.
bought the mini game, and I played with my son. By recently, I mean like 4 years ago. It looks like a great game. Because we teaching him and playing it, we got a game in less than an hour. It's one of those games that you could do that with, and you could have a lot of fun with. But right now, BattleTech's riding high, or
I've been playing BattleTech since '86 or '83, so it's one of my fallback games. And I play it on there because I play against a computer, so scratch that itch.
but so many of these games and these articles and whatnot are purely pieces of history, and it's nice to know and be able to reminisce about some of this stuff. But I'm pretty sure I forgot something while reading this, trying to fit it into my head, because there's no more room for new stuff. So every time I learn something, I forget something else.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Delete
to be
file.
perfectly blunt, outside of like the comics, that wonderful holiday piece, Rob Kuntz, and James Ward adding some levity. Like this was not as bad. I double checked this last night so I can be prepared. It wasn't as bad as I remembered a few weeks back, but yeah, this one, this is probably my least favorite so far. There were some shameful pieces of yellow journalism in here. There's very little I can use. I can use some of this stuff, but like more like, hey, here's some good baseline stats for Robin Hood, who they just summoned. Um, otherwise, like beautiful art, beautiful comics, but otherwise just skip. I would have been suckered into buying this because of
Yeah.
how cool it looked, and then very deeply regretted it as I read it on the way home. Um,
Mm-hmm.
thankfully, thankfully, Dragon number 12 is much better.
Good. We
Like
deserve that.
Oh yeah.
yes, 12 might be one of the better ones so far, but we're gonna have to leave you on a cliffhanger for a week or two as we live our daily lives and get to reading it.
So we're not doing a show next week.
Let's print it up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we are.
Oh, a week or
I'm gonna
two
try.
just means, sometimes, someone's sick
Something
or,
happens. Okay.
someone's,
Okay.
exhausted
Yeah,
from
I
looking after the
thought you were
monkey.
alluding to actually having something you had to do, which is fine.
I can I can do a game with Carter on my hip. I can make a game a live stream. I can't do it when I got Fletcher because he's just Fletcher or Alex will just nope. They wired. They built for speed.
Gotcha.
Now, second week of May and a few other dates, I won't be able to do it because I won't be home. I'll be in another state or so.
No worries.
Understood.
So
But that's another, yeah, that's like 2 weeks from now, so we can easily plan around that.
yeah, I'll let you know ahead of time. Yeah, I scheduled it for last Thursday and then I just couldn't do it. So I had an extra kid at the last minute. But yeah, 11, nah, 12, a little better. Actually, I think the best Dragon magazines are in the 20s and the 30s, to be
I can
honest.
see that.
I can't.
But the whole point is to twofold. I think one to see what we can grab to make us better. Dungeon masters, game masters, gamers in general, and the historical uh, context to understand how things developed, how and why they are the way they are because of their roots. And while they had some shaky moments, it just gets better every day, every year, etc. And
And even in these primitive days, like I pointed out articles where I'm like, wow, this rocks, I never even thought of this, I can't wait to use this in a game someday, or hey, wait a sec, this is really nice, I can put this together here, or like you said, like, and I'm a very big Appendix N proponent. um this is the real Appendix N. This is the outsourcing of like testing, experimenting, getting sloppy. Sometimes it doesn't work, but when it does, it's really a treat.
and a lot of this stuff will continue to affect the hobby forever, literally,
I
as long
mean,
as
people
there's.
still talk about Wormy.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I wish there was a compilation. There is a compilation of Snarf Quest. There is a compilation of Phineas Fingers, but I could not find Wormy, which is a tragedy because that would make. Listening to Tanner do the voice, I could picture uh, Bubba here, reading Wormy to the kids when they can understand English. That would be a you know what I mean?
Well, I mean, I think
Maybe.
he'll print them off and read it to him, but yeah, it's like it's heartbreaking. Not just that we never got a D&D movie proper. Well, I mean, we did have a few D&D movies, but like Hawk the Slayer and Crawl and
Yeah.
stuff like that. But that one of them did not start with a 5 to 10 minute cartoon of Wormy. Hey, Wormy, we hit the big times with the boys, man. It was just a bunch of degeneracy. And like eyeballs like Gygax with the twins in the hot tub. Gygax that gives him the finger. Yeah, fool around with, don't you?
They're going to give Gygax props in any new
Yeah,
water
that'll
and
never happen.
stuff.
Yeah, even that mockery would be too much. He's fooling around with the gorgeous twins. Whee!
Yeah, they're
Hey,
the
Piglet.
and we're seeing it. Other people are talking about it. What's happening to Wizards of the Coast is what happens when you fuck with karma and you fuck with a
Hmm.
man's legacy who did nothing
Hmm.
but give people joy and happiness for every
Yeah.
moment of his uh, career. Let's say that's all he wanted to do was make
Yeah,
people,
like
and all they could do was shit on
by
him.
his own admission. Like, let's be blunt here, because I've criticized Gygax pretty hard this issue, and I've criticized the behavior of some of these guys. They still made Dungeons and Dragons. It's like, let it this
Yeah.
way. Okay, Gygax should not have cheated on his wife. He should not have taken all that cocaine. Gygax didn't burn a cross. You know, like that's like put this into perspective a little bit here. Like there are countless times worse people in the world than Gary freaking Gygax. Come on. I mean,
Yeah, they all
Dave
work for
Arneson.
Wizards of the
You're
Coast.
Yeah,
negative
I mean, Dave
qualities.
Arneson freaking gave him.
So make sure you're visual.
Think about that.
Mhm.
All right. But I think that's good for the day. See you next
Can't wait,
week.
dude.
Any other projects you guys want to talk about before we
Can't
kick
wait for
out the
number
door?
12, dude. It's gonna be happy go lucky Tanner will be back. So
How
I'm
about you,
looking forward to
Shannon?
it. I was looking forward to this one.
mhm.
I know they can't all be
All right.
winners, but there's still something to warrant a perusal through it. And for those of you who are interested in the history and the backstory and the how and the why things are the way they are, this is the best first steps you can make if you really care, have any curiosity about what it was like in the earliest of days of this hobby. Then this is where you go. This is where you start, and you'll see the evolution of this wonderful hobby.
Mhm.
Okay.
And it is
Leave it on
wonderful.
that.
Like you said in your video last night, we need to keep the really good stuff, the smart stuff alive. And if this is us playing our part, then I think that's something worth celebrating.
Amen,
Take
brother.
care, everybody.
Yeah.
Amen.
All right. Take care.